I'd like to bring the Mentor City Council regular meeting, February 7th, 2023 to order. The invocation will be given by myself. Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom with a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Mrs. Dowling. Here. Mr. Freeman.
Here.
Mr. Kirchner.
Here.
Mr. Krieger.
Here.
Mr. Marne.
Here.
Mr. Blake.
Here. Council, before we move on any further, we have a guest speaker tonight. I just want to say a couple things before he comes up. When I was elected to council, Councilman Krieger reminded me that you have to win when I was appointed, Councilman Krieger told me you have to win an election before you're allowed to, before we listen to you. And then I won an election, and then they started listening to me a little bit. And then, and I want to thank Commissioner Regovich for coming tonight and giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you guys at your meeting. And then Mr. Kirchner reminded me, and he said, boy, you're going to love night shift, you know what I'm saying? But no, I really appreciate you guys taking into consideration everything you've done. And we appreciate you coming here and speaking in front of us today. And we have Commissioner Regovich here.
Thank you for having me. This is part of what I want to do since I became commissioner, is to get out and see the different how people hold their meetings. I've been to a township meeting so far, which was enlightening and different. I was never on the third floor here. Ken had reminded me today I never made it past the second floor. But it's a beautiful place, and again, I just wanted to come by and check out your meeting and also give you some sense of what I want to do in the commissioner's office coming up, and how Mentor fits in with that. I have something that I've been pushing for a number of years now with workforce development and economic development. I want to get into the schools. I want to put a curriculum in so that when kids get out of schools, they have the go to work. There's 50 to 60% of kids that don't go to college or don't do those things. We need them to join the workforce, and I think you see that more here in Mentor than anywhere else in the county maybe. We can actually use everyone you talk to in manufacturing knows that they want workers, they want qualified workers, they want people that are ready to work. So even the soft skills of shaking someone's hand, sitting for an interview, those kind of things, but that expectation that we need you to show up on Monday morning at 7:30 and work to 4:30 in the afternoon and get those things done. And I see Mentor as a value to help us as a county, who I don't see has a very strong economic development area. We have different fractions of one in each little place. So my goal is to bring that all together. Places like AWT and the things that I've seen here is happening on its own, and I want to gather those together and help. And I think Mentor, your economic development team, and the things you do can help us greatly there. I got to see it firsthand as mayor. I appreciated all I learned from everyone here in Mentor, and I hope to do that at the county level. So I just wanted to come by, tell you those things, and I'll be reaching out to many of you, as I already have, and to continue that and go further. And we're going to start having meetings at the county level. I'm going to bring, how's this work? How are we going to put that together? So your wisdom, your advice would be greatly appreciated, and to take part in that. So just a little bit of what I want to do, and come see a meeting. And I also want to thank Councilman Krieger for helping me with the sewer issue. It's nice to know I can reach out to the councilman still and get things like that done on a different level. So thanks for having me up, and thanks for listening to me.
Commissioner, thank you. We just want to say we appreciate you coming, and that our success depends on the county's success, and your success depends on our success. And if the county's doing good, every city, not just us alone, I think it's good for the whole county, and all the economic development and everything spreading around is good for everyone. And we appreciate you coming here.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
Thanks, Rick. sewer issue.
Council, you're in receipt of the January 17, 2023 regular minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Tabled legislation, we have none. New legislation, ordinance number 23-0-008.
An ordinance to authorize transfers of funds, advances of funds, and revisions to appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Malinowski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Members of council, this ordinance does three things. Firstly, in section 1, it authorizes 2 permanent cash transfers out of 2 different funds to enable us to have the adequate cash necessary in the state grant fund and federal grant funds that are listed in the staff report. Section 2 authorizes a temporary cash advance from our general fund to 4 different all-state grant funds. And Section 3 has several appropriation revisions all to the current year, as noted in the attached staff report. Several of them, about half, are related to grants also. I would be happy to answer your questions and recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Council?
Move to suspend. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes. Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-008 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-009.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to award a bid contract to TC Construction Company Incorporated for the sidewalk repair pedestrian safety program Zone 4C and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia?
Thank you, Mr. President. To Mr. Swigger, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. 4 bids were opened January 27th for the Sidewalk Repair and Pedestrian Safety Program in Zone 4C. Zone 4C included 13 miles of sidewalk, 544 parcels, 313 of which were found to have sidewalk that needed repaired or replaced. Bids received for the project ranged from a low bid of $238,464 to a high bid of $349,527. The engineer's opinion of probable construction cost for the work was $271,000. The low bid was received from TC Construction Company of Willoughby Hills, Ohio. This bid was found to be in conformance with all contract requirements. It's therefore recommended that a contract be awarded to TC Construction Incorporated in the amount of $238,464.50. It's anticipated that the work will begin by May, with a project completion date specified for August 18th. Thank you.
Council?
Move to suspend. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes. Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-009 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-010.
An ordinance approving and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with CDW Government LLC for the purchase of upgraded information technology equipment, software, maintenance, and support, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia?
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, there are many items that are incorporated into this quote. This is a state bid contract, and all of this IT equipment is for necessary replacements to maintain our in-house network. This also includes not just the hardware, but 5 years of support, licensing, and the subscription for that for these services over that 5-year period. Ask for council's approval.
Council?
Move to suspend. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes. Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-010 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-011.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Precision Laser and Instrument, Inc. for the purchase of a Trimble Total Station forensic measurement and mapping equipment and related services and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief Gunch, please.
Yes, sir. Members of council, the police department is requesting to replace our current Leica Total Station. Total Station is a piece of equipment we utilize when investigating serious or large accident or crime scenes. The system provides accurate measurements and offers the ability to create 3D dimensional diagrams. Our current system's failing and lacks the current technology to perform in today's environment. There are only 2 manufacturers of total stations able to offer a forensic package of all necessary hardware, software, and training for law enforcement. Both those systems were tested, and the Trimble Total Station, sold by Precision Laser Instrument, was the best system to meet our needs. Total cost for the system is $54,430.22, which is $18,700 lower than the other system tested. So I recommend approval for this legislation.
Thank you, Chief. Counsel?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes. Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-011 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-012. Mr. Flippia? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Deere and Company for the purchase of a John Deere 9009A terrain cut rough mower under the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program and declaring an emergency.
I was just so excited to get the roughs cut so I could hit out of the rough now, that's why.
I was just going to say,
I
Mr.
jumped into
President,
it.
we want to make sure that the golf course
That's
is
what I'm
looking
always
good.
at.
And we're going to be working on your handicap
Thank you, I
in the
appreciate
spring.
it.
Mr. Kaminsky.
This isn't a greens mower, Councilman Donovan, so.
Oh,
we're gonna
I
some
won't have to
trouble.
worry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Flippia, members of council. The Parks and Recreation Department of Black Brook is requesting approval to purchase a John Deere terrain cut rough mower from the John Deere Company for the golf course. This mower is going to do the contour mowing plus the striping. That will make the golf course look better and play a lot better. This will save a lot of efficiency and a lot of time. With this mower, it is recommended to enter into an agreement with John Deere for the purchase of this, and this is on the state bid. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President?
Go ahead, John. Mr.
You know,
Blake.
when I read this over the weekend, it really kind of piqued an interest. So I looked this machine up, and that is a neat-looking machine. It's got 5 decks that match the contour of whatever terrain you're going over and cuts all at the same time. It looks like it also mulches everything in there,
It does.
too.
That is
But
correct.
that is really a neat machine.
As you could tell with those 5 decks, the amount of time
Yeah.
that we're going to save,
And
and
that's-
then also the striping package that is on it, so it's
Is that like 27 feet wide? Is that what
I-
the cut is on that? I mean,
Not
it's-
that far,
it's
but it's-
huge.
it is
It's
big.
really huge.
Is it loud?
Move to suspend. Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-012, rough lawnmower cutting is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-013.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to award a bid contract to Roniak Paving, Inc. for Contract A and Alternate 1 of the 2023 road program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President, and this is the asphalt portion of our road program. I think it's important to point out that we're looking at prices about 20% higher than we saw last year. Obviously, the inflation is hitting us here as well as oil prices, but we're still convinced that being the first ones out to bid generally among our counterparts in Lake County is giving us a competitive edge on that in terms of pricing. We are in cooperation with Mentor on the Lake again this year. Kirtland did not decide to join up in our bid this year. Mr. Swigger.
Mr. Filipiak. 5 bids were opened on Friday, January 13th for the 2023 road repair program. This project will provide asphalt pavement resurfacing on 3 city streets. Streets included for resurfacing are Meldon Drive, Presley Avenue, and Robinwood Drive. The bid package consisted of a base bid and 2 alternates, which included work within Mentor on the Lake. Alternate 2 is actually for 4 additional streets within Mentor, which are not being recommended due to pricing. The 5 bids received for the base bid in alternate 1, the Mentor on the Lake work, range from a low bid of $485,806.56 to a high bid of $566,000. It's been determined that Roniak Paving of Burton, Ohio submitted the lowest bid of $485,806.56. The engineer's opinion of probable construction cost was $487,750, and a review of the bid from Roniak Paving indicates it's in conformance with all contract requirements. Thank you.
Counsel.
Just a quick question, Mr. President, for this administration. What is a rough figure on our annual cost or annual monies we put into the road programs?
So, when we talk about our road program, it's obviously consolidation of the arterial streets that we do as well as the neighborhoods. When I refer to the neighborhood streets, it's somewhere in that $1.5 million range. You're just tidying up the residential streets. On balance, when you look at in totality, we're somewhere around, I think we're averaging around $6 to $8 million annually when you take in the larger projects. A lot of that as a result of our success with OPWC grants and that as well.
I think I ask that question every year, because I want the residents to know, what kind of money that we put out.
And we have been doing that for well over a decade now.
Move to suspend.
Thank you.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-013 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-014.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to award a bid contract to A&J Cement Contractors, Inc. for Contract B and alternates 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the 2023 road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia?
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is the concrete portion. We're emphasizing concrete streets to a much, much larger extent this year. Mr. Swigger.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. 4 bids were opened Friday, January 13th for Contract B of the 2023 Road Repair Program. This project will provide full-depth concrete repairs to portions of 20 city streets. The bid package consisted of a base bid and 4 bid alternates. The streets included in the base bid are Ashton Court, Astor Drive, Baythorn Drive, Belglow Lane, Briarwood Drive, Carpenter Drive, Chapelway Drive, Churchill Square, Hamilton Drive, Hayes Boulevard, Lucretia Court, Maiden Lane, Pepperwood Court, Prospect Street, Quail Point Lane, Saddle Lane, Sea Pines, Sheltered Cove, St. James Drive, and Xenia Court. Quantities bid under alternate 1 will be utilized for work within Mentor on the Lake. Quantities within alternate 2 permit the reconstruction of inlet basins in the vicinity of the base contract streets, and quantities in alternate 3 and 4 permit for additional repairs up to 2,000 square yards to be performed on base bid concrete streets. 4 bids received for the base bid and all alternates range from a low bid of $1,294,850 to a high bid of $2,455,223.48. It's been determined that A&J Cement Contractors Incorporated of Euclid, Ohio submitted the lowest total bid of $1,294,858.00. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swigger. Counsel?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-014 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-015.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements with the city of Mentor on the Lake for the 2023 road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual cooperative agreement. The Mentor on the Lake portion of these 2 bids that you just approved represents just under $35,000 total.
Thank you, sir. Counsel?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-015 is approved. Second readings, we have none. Third readings, we have none. Managers report. Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, in accordance with Mentor City Code 119.01, adopted in November 2014, Democracy Day is held every 2 years. This year, it will be held on Wednesday, February 15th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., or longer if necessary, in the Mentor City Council chambers. Any citizen of Mentor may attend and participate. Participation is limited to 5 minutes of comments per citizen. Please see the city's website for details. Aqua Ohio water main replacement projects in the city are moving along. Installation of the new 6-inch water main on Findlay Drive is complete, and transfer of service to the new line is in process. Final completion is expected at the end of February, with final restoration, which will include sidewalk and apron replacements, and of course lawn restoration will take place in the spring. The new 12-inch water main on Bellflower Road is about 80% complete and is also expected to be substantially complete by the end of February, with final restoration as well in the spring. An unveiled art exhibit opening reception featuring John Lilich will be held this Friday, February 10th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. in the lobby of the Mentor Municipal Center. Mr. Lilich is an inspiring wood carver and artist. All are welcome to attend this free reception, view the exhibit, and meet the artist. His work is on display in our lobby right now and has been for about the past week, and it's gotten a lot of very positively critical reviews. And finally, Council, we have several new businesses that we want to welcome to the city. Kiba Studios Kitchen and Bath at 7625 Mentor Avenue. Sidewinders Snack Shack at 7271 Center Street. Blue Falls Car Wash at 5786 Heisley Road. Get Go at 6800 Center Street. And Nova Metal Products Incorporated at 7500 Clover Avenue. We welcome them to the city and thank them for their investment here and wish them great luck in the future. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Flippia. Clerk's correspondence.
Council's in receipt of the Mentor Municipal Court month-end report of December 2022. That is all.
Thank you. Commission and committee reports. Council, you're in receipt of the Mentor Municipal Planning Commission, December 8th, 2022. Old business. I just want to say one thing. We have a Mentor High 2011 football graduate who is a friend of my son's, and he ended up he's working for the Philadelphia Eagles, so he's at the Super Bowl. He is not a player. He's in the offices, and he's a quality control person for the Eagles, and I just want to wish him good luck. His name's Joey Casper. And if he wins the ring, I told him he has to let me bring it to council and show you guys, because we're probably going to be a while before we see a Super Bowl ring. So I just want to wish Joey the best of luck, and that's what I have. Anybody else? New business.
Mr. President,
Mr. Freeman.
question for the administration. A couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago now, myself and Mr. Krieger met with the chairman of the Tree Commission to discuss the possibility of implementing a program to trim trees that have been recently planted for the last maybe 1, 2, 3 years in order to get them a good start. My understanding is it would be a pilot program, wouldn't in any way relieve residents of their obligations in terms of maintaining the trees, et cetera. But I wanted to know sort of where we were on that and thoughts. If I remember correctly, it really wouldn't have any added expense to undertake that. I think the thinking the administration thought was that they have the internal capability to undertake that. Also sort of wanted to let council know in general in case there were any questions, concerns, but I was sort of wondering, because I think we're approaching the time period when that would be undertaken if we were going to undertake that program.
Thank you, Councilman. We haven't made any concrete plans to move forward just yet, but I'll ask Mr. Schweiker to maybe offer some thoughts on at least what has been recommended, perhaps. I don't know if you've had any thoughts on whether or not you wanted to give it a go, so to speak.
Right. I mean, I was part of the meeting, and I think, the feeling was that, we're really not talking about a terribly involved trimming of each tree. I mean, it might be 2, 3 branches. I mean, each tree might take 30 seconds, and we'd pick the branches up and be on our way. So it would not be a very large undertaking. We thought that was probably within the scope of what we could do with our in-house personnel and resources.
Well, I mean, my thinking is that I think it would be beneficial. We can at least see how it goes. I don't know if there were any concerns among council. Again, the city's not taking over ultimate responsibility, but the tree commission did feel it would be good to get a good start for these trees. And I know for some residents, there's sometimes frustration with sort of how these things, as we all well know, can play out in terms of, so I thought, to me, it was brought to me by the chairman. I thought it was a good idea, and I'm at least supportive of it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Anybody else? No? You good? Persons before council. Helen Hayes. Helen, please come up and give us your name and address. And for the clerk, please. And you have 4 minutes, Helen. Thank you.
I realize my hearing isn't so good. So you said name and address?
Yes, Helen. Thank you.
Okay, Helen Hayes, 6177 Tall Oaks Drive, Mentor, Ohio.
Thank you. Go ahead.
May I read what
Yes, you can.
brought tonight? Okay, thanks for allowing me to speak. My name is Helen Hayes, and I have lived in Mentor for 51 years. I was born in Pennsylvania, grew up in a family of 6. Our parents taught us by example how to be self-sufficient with hunting, fishing, and gardening. We also raised chickens for eggs and meat. Recently, one of my brothers left me a house in Pennsylvania. On that property, I have been able to establish an orchard and garden. This summer, I was hoping to take 2 or 3 laying hens, since a dozen eggs in Pennsylvania reached $7 in January. Because of the natural prey, the bears, the coyote, the hawks, and the eagles, I wouldn't be able to leave the hens when I return to Ohio for a few days each month. There lies my problem. Then I remembered an article that was in the News Herald several years ago, and I knew one of the cities west of us allowed chickens. So I made a few phone calls, and to my surprise, Wickliffe, Willowick, Willoughby, and Eastlake, they all allow chickens. Now, the ordinances all varied a little bit, but each agreed on the number, which was number 6. That's when I called Mentor City Hall to see if our chicken ordinance had changed. It hadn't, so here I am. I can't believe I'm talking about chickens. But anyway, I'm not here about my 2 or 3 vacationing chickens. I'm thinking of our young families or anyone on minimum wage, or our seniors on a fixed income. Me personally, my fixed income in '22 was less than $600 a month. That doesn't go far if you have a rent or a house payment, or house taxes, or house or car insurance, utilities, medical insurance, medicine, food, or gasoline. I've been blessed and I'm perfectly okay. I'm speaking for those who aren't. Those who have to choose maybe between buying food, getting their medicine, or heating their homes. Today, with our economy, prices, the interest rates, housing, gasoline all going up, and our shortages, everybody had the toilet paper shortage, the baby formula shortage, the truckers have been stopped, a lot of them, because of the gas prices, and some of the shelves being bare. What if it does get worse? The government says to be prepared. The government can't take care of all of us at once. I was a Girl Scout leader, and we always said be prepared. From my parents' message, be self-sufficient. Be part of the solution, don't be a part of the problem. So I was thinking back over my 51 years in Mentor. There were 2 times in that 50 years where there were 2 major power outages for a couple of days. I'm glad we had a fireplace and a woodpile. One year, my husband was out of work for 9 months, and those 400 jars of canned goods from our garden, that got us through us that time. In '21, I was able to pick 6 bushels of peaches from that orchard in Pennsylvania. Last year, I was glad to dig 120 pounds of potato from our little garden in Mentor. All simple things, all a productive hobby, but sometimes a necessity. I shared gardening, the fruits and vegetables, but now about those chickens. If we're allowed to have 6 chickens, that is an equivalent of 3.5 dozen eggs a week. Now, how can that help our children? Let a child care for them just like they would a dog or a cat. That helps develop discipline. Also, there's pride in showing that first fresh egg. And how can it help our seniors? I've been a caregiver most of the last 40 years in Mentor, and like I said, I'm fine. Now I'm a senior. I came in town when I was in my 20s, but now I'll be 75. And a lot of those seniors have the issues that I'm talking about. They're alone, they're by themselves. Yeah, we look at the cats and the dogs, you know, and that's great company. But if they have a chicken or a couple, they have to get up, they have to move, they have a purpose. So for you and I who aren't in our hard times right now, can we empathize with somebody who may need the eggs as a source of protein? Eggs for breakfast, then there's deviled eggs, hard-boiled eggs, egg salad, egg custard, eggs for baking. There is something for providing for oneself. It helps with our self-esteem, there's motivation, there's less depression. I will be going to Pennsylvania over the next few years. One day, hopefully this year, I will have those chickens. And when they are done laying, I'm sure I'll even have a pot of soup. But please consider the chickens in Mentor not as a pet, rather give the residents a choice if it's a necessity for them. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Helen. Appreciate it.
Now known as the chicken lady.
We have one more speaker, Dave Lima. Would you like to come up and give the clerk your name and address, please? 4 minutes, Dave.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of council, threats to our democracy have existed since its inception, both foreign and domestic. The Civil War, the rise of Nazi Germany and World War II, the January 6th insurrection are but a few that come to mind. But democracy is alive and well, at least here in Lake County. However you want to describe it, the action of Lake County residents and the subsequent decision of the county commissioners to rescind the 1/2% sales tax increase represents a victory for Lake County and democracy. But a cloud hangs heavy over our federal, state, and local election process. Money and its impact on our politics remains one of the most insidious aspects of our democracy. Bringing the pernicious effects of money and politics to light requires citizen involvement and action. Speaking out and taking action, as we recently found, can result in change. The City of Mentor's Democracy Day, now a city ordinance, passed in 2014 with an overwhelming 70% of the vote, provides the residents of Mentor with an opportunity to voice their views concerning money and politics and its impact on our democracy. And to reiterate Mr. Filipiak's comments, if you're a Mentor resident, please consider sharing your view at the public hearing scheduled for Wednesday, February 15th at 5:30 p.m. right here in this room. And attendance of non-residents is encouraged and welcomed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lima. Appreciate it. Council,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
meeting's adjourned.